Go. Welcome everyone to an IKS meetup. I wanted to have a one-on-one with our IKS third place challenge winner from last year, Colleen Stratton, just to check in with her and see how her past year since kicking sugar has been for her. You know, the big question, has she stayed the course on her health journey? And what has she been up to in this past year on her journey? So we are going to continue to find out from her how it's physically and mentally unfolded for her this past year. So stay tuned because we are about to find out all of that. So often I think women think that the journey ends when they've declared their day, and they said, I am sugar-free now, or after the 90-day challenge ends. When in fact, as Colleen has discovered and others, it is just the beginning of a lifelong, amazing journey. So welcome, Colleen. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I met the other day with Jennifer Fox, our grand prize winner. And ladies, if you haven't watched that meetup, be sure you watch that episode, find it, watch it. It's truly inspiring, as I know today's is going to be also. And I think just like how I started off with Jennifer, Colleen, I'm going to start off with you the same way. Just would love for you to share with all the ladies who haven't personally read your post in the Facebook group community or gotten to know you through the challenge last year, to start from your beginning, if they didn't get those emails where we shared your story and your journey, giving us a little backstory on how your sugar fixation began, and how maybe just share like how sugar affected your life for you, how it kind of showed up and appeared either physically, emotionally, mentally through childhood and adulthood. Just giving us that back end story so we get a chance to see where you were at pre-IKS.
Hi, Joyce.
Hi.
So good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
A little bit about me. So I grew up in a family of 5 children, and I'm number 4. And there's an 11-year span. There's the older kids, and then me and my little brother, who are the younger kids. And so I share that because I had 2 older sisters that by the time I was born, they were 8 and 10, and they were already dieting. My dad had, asked my mother to take them to Weight Watchers. And so literally, I spent my entire life, in war with food. And that truly is what it felt like. It felt like, I remember at one point at like 7 years old, one of my dieting sisters saying that that oranges, the oranges were good for you. And so I ate like 8 oranges at a time. And so, I mean, that's how it began. It's like, I was never given the tools. I was never shown how to eat properly. I was never shown how to eat healthily. My mom, was a 70s housewife, and she cooked with a lot of butter. And I mean, we had butters on the steaks, and, everything was very full of fat. And now, with that being said, she was anti-sugar. So we never had any sugar cereals. We used Sweet 10. I don't know if you remember that, the dripping cancer stuff on our stuff. Ice milk. We didn't get ice cream, but we got ice milk, non-fat milk. So from the very beginning of my childhood, I felt deprived. I felt deprived, and I felt guilty, and I felt that I honestly felt the food was an enemy. I mean, it was a constant battle. It was a constant fight with my weight. I mean, in addition to just the mental upbringing of that food battle, is we also had genes in that, I got my little chubby cheeks, and so it was very easy to put on weight and not so easy to take it off. And I remember from the time I was a child feeling chubby, and people commenting on my chubby cheeks. Wow. And then I remember the very first time anybody called me fat. and that was in second grade. And so just being humiliated, that was, that was horrible. And even at that age, at 8 and 9 and 10, too embarrassed to put on a bikini.
Wow.
So, it makes me very sad to think of that little girl today,
Yeah.
because she deserves so much love and acceptance that she didn't get from herself. And so this was, this was a lifelong thing for me. And to be completely honest, at 13 years old, I was in 8th grade, and I decided I was going to lose weight. And I had a family member who made a bet with me for me to lose weight. It was my sister's husband, actually. And so I did everything I could. And at that point, I started using outside substances to help with that.
Mm.
And at 14 years old, it was only Dexatrim. But that, it did not just stay Dexatrim. It escalated throughout my life, where that was how I managed my weight. I lost all this weight in 8th grade, and I went off to a new town where I had to, kind of walk into a new life in Southern California. I'd come from Northern California, and it was all about looks, and it was all about, all of that and weight. And I immediately put on like 70 pounds, and then it was just, it was just like that. It was just off and on and on. And then in my 20s, I had a speed addiction, and it was all about controlling the weight. And that is how I did it. I didn't know how to eat. I didn't know how to fuel my body. I didn't know how to take care of myself in any sort of way. And this was a big part of that. So throughout that, at mid 20s, I realized I couldn't continue with that. I was going to kill myself. So I stopped that. And then I gained weight, and I lost weight, and I gained weight, and I lost weight. And I'll tell you that I then switched addictions to alcohol. And through my 30s, I drank a lot of alcohol. What I didn't realize is how much sugar alcohol has in it, how much sugar wine has in it. I was a wino, and I drank a lot of wine.
You're not
And
alone. There are so many women out there.
Right?
There's a whole wine culture.
Exactly. The mommy culture of,
Yes.
a glass of wine in the laundry room was every single day.
And it's normal now. Yeah.
Right. And it's acceptable now. But right before I turned 40, I got sober, and that was fabulous. And it helped to change my life. And I immediately lost weight, right? Because it's just going to be natural. I stopped drinking 1,500 calories a day. So I immediately lost weight, and that was great. The problem was, what I didn't realize is that now this sugar addiction I had developed now had no outlet, right? So, so then I just little stuff, just a little Jelly Belly, just a little Starburst, just a little cookie, just a little this, just a little that. I cannot begin to tell you, how this progressed. And so through most of my 40s, that was, I fought with that. I had this great life that was going. I was in recovery. I was helping other women. I was, I was feeling healthy,
right.
To some, degree. And at the same time, there was part of me that knew I wasn't, that knew I still had this addiction going on, and I still wasn't really sober. I mean, if you really want to look at it that way. And I never exercised in my life either. And so at 48, I decided, okay, you know what? It was more like 47, but I just decided, you know what? I am worth it. I am worth the hard work. I am worth putting myself first.
Yes.
And so from then on, it really was, I started to really want to learn how to eat and how to take care of myself and how to be healthy. And so, to be honest, it wasn't a great big losing a bunch of weight. I was 250 pounds, by the way. And so it really was a process of, I would learn some new skills and some new tools, and I would use those, and I'd lose 30 pounds. And then I'd learn how to live with being without that 30 pounds.
Right.
And then, and then 6 months later, I'd lose another, I'd start the journey again and start losing another 30. So this was fabulous. Right. And I went through a divorce, and I started exercising, and I found Pilates, and and that I fell in love with it. And so that became, part of my journey. So anyway, so I then started the exercise journey that was to maintain or lose weight, right? So I not only did Pilates, I did boot camp, I did, I did all the exercise, all the fitness, all the, the time, the stopwatch, and
You
the
went
heart rate
all in.
monitors, and the all in, doing it all. And what I found was, I mean, it was fantastic. I mean, what I learned about myself was that I'm capable of so much more than I give myself credit for. And I want to share that with the ladies out there.
Yeah.
You are capable of so much more than you've ever given yourself credit for. I mean, I honestly was that person who was like, oh, I can't run. I can't lift weights. Well, I still can't run, to be honest with you. but just all the other things. And, what I found is that, I can do a hell of a lot. And I was almost 50 at that point. And so,
Wow.
and so that was wonderful, right? And I was really trying to eat better or eat clean, and I didn't really know what that was, but I was trying. And what I found is, I am an emotional eater, and I overeat when I'm emotional, and I binge. I binge eat, and I definitely binge bad food when when I'm under stress. So what I found is last year in 2022 is, I was killing myself. I was up at 5:30 in the morning going to boot camps. I'm out in a parking lot shoving, bags of sand across a parking lot with
Oh my God.
25-year-old guys. I'm like doing it. Right. And it doesn't matter because it's a constant, I'm battling the fork, right? I'm battling
Correct.
the fork.
Yeah.
So, and so I just, and then I went through the holidays of baking and eating and and doing all this stuff. And I came back, and right before the end of the year, I got on the scale, and I had gained 12 pounds since Thanksgiving.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Just from Thanksgiving to around Christmas time, you're
Yeah, a
saying?
little after Christmas.
Yeah. Wow.
12 pounds. Now,
Yeah.
probably a lot
How
of it
it's crazy. I mean, it's not crazy. That's just, again, how it creeps up on us. We don't really, if we don't bring awareness to the moment, it adds up quickly. All right, continue on. So,
and we don't realize how much that food is inflaming us as well, right? That's a huge part of it.
Oh,
and I
huge.
was so uncomfortable and so unhappy, and I just felt miserable. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you. It was like hitting bottom. It was like hitting the bottom I had with alcohol. It
Wow.
was like, I just was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm incapable of outworking the fork at this point, obviously.
Right.
And I don't know what else to do. And I don't know where else to turn. And what I knew is that sugar was the biggest problem, right?
That was the
And I'll tell you, there's a million different ways I can tell you I knew that, but one of them being is that I hid the sugar from my husband, because he and I are like in
That's
this
a big
team.
indicator.
He and I are in this big team together of like trying to get healthy together. We fell in love when I was 47. So, we've been together about 7 years. And so,
Okay.
So he and I have been doing this journey together. Right. And he's lost 60 pounds and I lost, this weight and So we've done this great stuff. And so we kind of are each other's accountability partner, except for I'm accountability, except for because I'm working out and you're not working out as hard. I can go have, a bag of jelly beans.
Right.
And so, but I'm not going to tell you because I don't want you to feel. So it was really vicious, and I felt horrible, and so and so much of it was just that feeling of like ordering candy off of Amazon, off the internet, just so I can get that big bag of Skittles or whatever it was.
Yes.
Oh, anyways, and so come that week, a couple of days before the new year, I just, I was like, I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. And this, I gotta stop the sugar. I've got to stop the sugar. It is making my emotions like this. It is making me feel horrible about myself. I feel like a liar. I feel like a cheat. I feel like, fat. I feel I felt horrible.
You were at
So
your breaking point for
I was
sure.
at my break point and I hit the bottom
You hit rock bottom.
and I
Yeah.
didn't know what to do. And I'll tell you what I did is like, I Googled quit sugar. I was like, I don't know what to do. Here's what I know. I know that I do really well with 12-step groups. I know I do really well with support from other women.
Yeah.
I know that that is how I thrive, and that is how I've succeeded in other areas of my life. And so I just said, you know what? I don't know. And so I kicked sugar, and I think you're I don't know, you
On
popped up.
Facebook popped up.
Maybe your Facebook, maybe it was just your website. I don't know, but
Okay.
something popped up. And I started reading it, and I started, looking into it, and I was like, okay, what do I have to lose? And a contest is kind of that catalyst, and it felt good, like, okay, I can jump on board. Now, this was so much different than any diet I'd ever been on. And this was the fabulous part of this, Joyce. And this is why, my life changed this year. It wasn't about losing the 18 pounds that I lost that first 4 months. It honestly wasn't even about giving up sugar. It was about everything I have gained this year. And it was about the program. It wasn't about like, oh, quit sugar and then, you're going to get $250 if you do that. No, it wasn't about that. It was like, don't quit sugar. Don't quit sugar at all. In fact, what we want you to do is we want you to educate yourself. We want you to learn about what this is doing to you. We want you to learn about what this is doing to our world, to our country, and to every single one of us. And it was so much more about than weight. For me, it was weight. I fought weight my whole life, right? So I was all about, I want to be skinny. I want to be this weight. And
Are you like, what's this girl talking about? Keep eating sugar.
Right.
I thought this was a kick sugar program.
Right. And I was like, oh, I'm going to quit it anyways. But so I was like, okay, fine. I'm going to get this material early. I'm going to read this. So I did. I read the material so fast.
Good.
And I went through it, really fast the very first time. And then I went and I picked it back up again, and I went through it with a highlighter. And I was really intent, right? I really wanted to start the no sugar thing. So I went through the program pretty quickly, the modules pretty quickly.
Okay.
I will tell you, some of the most amazing information I got was from those links of those movies. I had no idea, that it's not my fault. It is not my fault. This has been, perfect example is my parents in the 70s, right? Joining that whole Weight Watchers thing, and that whole, the weight loss culture, and that you're only okay if you're this weight, and you're, blah, blah. And today,
and that Dexatrim was even normal, you were weird if you were a girl and you weren't on it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like I knew so many women that were on it, and I struggle. I used to take laxatives. It's like, it's crazy the things that we would do for weight loss.
Right. And starve ourselves.
Like that totally.
That was going to help things. Like that was going to make
or your last thing, trying to exercise your way out of a bad diet is just insane. It does not work. Yeah.
It does not. And so I, like I said, I love the modules. I still have them. Actually, I have them bound in a notebook. And so that was really important. So it was really important for me to do that. But what I will tell you is that, okay, so I got through the modules. Great. I've got all this education, and I've got this enthusiasm. I've got this motivation. I'm ready to do this.
Great.
And honestly, I had an exercise piece in place. So I was very lucky in that respect. I'm sorry, let me back up a little bit. I stopped going to these gyms at 5:30 in the morning. It was just too cold and too wet, and I'm too old for this shit. So sorry, but you can mute that. Sorry. But I finally said, I decided one of the things that the one thing that I was always excited to do when I went to the gym is get on a bike. I love the spin bike. And then I also love the Pilates yoga component. So I decided, I'm going to do what brings me joy. I am going to do, and that's important. I want you all to remember that, do what brings you joy, because I took that into my food as well. But for exercising, I was like, it brings me joy to get on a bike and, And so I bought myself an in-house, one, with the TV, so I can ride around, the videos of around the world, and
Yes.
with other people, and also do strength training and do Pilates, and I can do everything from in my house if I want to. So, and at my own convenience. So,
No
um,
excuses that way.
no excuses. And for me, everybody has their own thing, and I encourage everybody I talk to like find your thing, find what sparks you, find what brings you joy, find what excites you, because for me this does it, right? But for you it may not be a bike. Maybe for you it's taking, I mean, go walk around the block. Maybe it's, go do a really hard exercise class. I don't know. But I'll tell you that I've stayed true to this. It's been really important to me to stay true to myself and and follow what brings me joy, because that's what I'll stick to. I'm not going to stick to the stuff that doesn't, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so I had that. So that was good. And for me, it's all about starting my day that way, because then I don't have to think about it again. I have a problem keeping food and coffee down if I take that before I exercise. So
Yeah.
it's better for me to just get it out of the way, and then everything else I do, all movement and all activity after that is bonus, right?
Yes.
So that is part of it, and I love that. Though I will tell you that I did your little what was it, the 3-minute workout, 4-minute
Yes.
workout when I first started, and that was not easy. I was
It's not. It's not. I have many women that can't even do one push-up to begin with. So, they've got to either start on the wall, like in a doorway, or maybe lean down on a desk or, a dining room table and start there, or start on their knees, then maybe move to their knees to then get a full
like,
push-up. But to pump out 25 push-ups pretty quickly is just one of the 3 parts of the 3-minute workout. Yeah,
right.
it's challenging, but it's just to show them, just like you're talking about, like, find your joy. And it doesn't have to be this big fancy thing. You don't have to have a gym membership. Just get moving. There's no excuse. Get started. If you can't afford the amazing bike that you just described, who's ever watching this, get outside and walk. That's why part of, the challenge also is the 10,000 steps a day. Like, you've got to be moving for sure, which thank goodness you did have that philosophy and you were in love with it. You had your joy around it. You loved movement and working out, and you saw the benefits. For sure. Because imagine what your weight would be like, or your mental sanity, if you didn't even have exercise
Right.
and all those
No,
endorphins. Yeah.
and for me it's a huge mental health thing. I mean,
Yeah.
that's it. That's
Me
the
too.
day. That's why I get on the bike most days, is
Yes.
because I know I need it to start my day, to start my head
Totally.
right, to get myself going. I mean, it's
Yeah, you and me both. Totally.
yeah, I mean, so things are, different today. So I do want to talk about the eating,
Okay.
because that obviously was a huge part of this. So support. I will tell you that I told you that for me it was really important that I have the support. So
Yeah.
and I will tell you that that was an incredibly important component of this. I did purchase the passes so that I could join the chats.
Right.
Super important. It was super fun to get on there with all the ladies and everybody, be
Yes.
excited, and we're all
Right.
cheering each other on, and we're all like, and we're sharing each other's challenges, right? And
Yes.
that's what I got from the Facebook group as well.
Yeah.
And that is why I'm still a part of it, because I come from the philosophy is, if I were to have gotten what I got out of this program and then walk away from it, that's stealing from you, Joyce, and that's stealing
Mm,
from everybody,
I
because
love
that's not
that.
fair. That's not fair. I mean, you know what? We need each other. We need
Too.
each other to
And
do this.
it's a give and take. I mean, give and you shall receive, because,
Mm-hmm.
it's so, just like Jennifer, who's stayed constant in the group past the year challenge, as you have as well. It keeps the conversation alive, very similar to any other 12-step program, right? I mean, just because
Yes.
you are sober does not mean you don't keep going to your meetings. It's like you
Mm-hmm.
were there. You were there to help lift others up. You were there to remember where you don't want to go
Yep.
back to, right?
Yep.
It's like, whoa, I'm so glad I'm not back in, in those trenches, like dealing with that. I mean, it keeps
That's
it
huge.
real for you. It is huge. It is. So you get something, and with your being there, I mean, every time I see you make a post and you share an update, the involvement of the women coming in, like, you inspired them, they didn't know it was possible. If they just heard it was me, they wouldn't believe it. But when you see all these other women that are doing it on top of me, it's like, wow, it really is possible. Maybe they don't identify with me and my story, but they identify with your story, which your story is amazing, by the way. Wow, 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 wow. I didn't know all those details from your childhood and what you dealt with and everything, I mean, it's crazy what a different world it was back
Back
then.
then.
Yeah, it really is. Now, my fear with our world today, I mean, don't want to get too off track, is that we're not embracing, like, yes, let's love our bodies and embrace all bodies, but let's also, like, remember that our outside is
What's healthy?
representative of our inside, right? And our health, not our inside, like our soul and who we are and our being. That is beautiful. You could be 300 pounds, 350 pounds and be beautiful. Above that, you're still beautiful, but you're still, killing your body inside and you're harming your body. And if we truly love our bodies, which I know is what you got to also on your journey, then we wouldn't want to harm our bodies. We would want to love them and embrace them and cherish them. They are our temple. I know, your whole journey through the challenge and after has been a very almost spiritual one for you as well. And I feel like I saw that witnessing you going through even you falling in love with real whole food. Because as you said at the beginning, your missing component really was learning how to cook or just, you knew instinctually how to cook, right? You didn't have to become this Martha Stewart chef, but to just fall in love with it and to not be afraid of real whole food and to want that. And in order to do that, you have to see the joy in it and see the benefits, right? Of like what it provides and nourishment for our body and our soul. And I watched, that transformation of yours unfold throughout the challenge. You were constantly sharing. You had purchased, I know, the cookbooks that I offer.
Yes.
The cookbook bundle, right? And I mean, I think you've done every recipe in there and posted every recipe with a picture, and you gave a report, if it passed the husband test and
I'm still doing we have staples in our household, Joyce, that are constant that
that's awesome.
we still do. And it's huge. It's really huge. That was, I knew about restriction. I knew about how to take things away from myself to lose weight or to reduce calories. What I didn't know is how to give myself more, to fill myself up, and to never feel like I was cheating myself or that I was restricting myself. And so that was a big thing is learning about whole foods, not diet foods, not low fat foods, not even sugar-free foods necessarily, because you need to look at the ingredients and what exactly is in there. If there's more than 5 ingredients, it's probably not something I really want to be eating. And if it's stuff that and if it's something that I can't pronounce, we're getting into dangerous territory, right? I mean, what the heck? Why am I eating something that I can't pronounce?
Exactly.
And so that was a big part of it. So I didn't even know where to start, ladies. I didn't know where I honestly did not know where to start as far as like cooking and eating and da. So I'll tell you today, like I only have almond flour. I only have gluten-free stuff. And what's strange is I never thought I had sensitivities or intolerances to food because I don't have any big allergies. I've done the allergy tests. I have no allergies.
Okay.
But what I learned is sensitivities are just as bad. And I have a bunch of sensitivities because today, like I rarely have to take gas pills. I don't take, laxatives, for occasional problems, I'm just regular. I'm just normal now. And I'm like, oh my God, I had no idea that like
that's possible.
Or that I could feel like this. So I did. So I started doing the recipes. I was amazed. My husband, who big guy, 6'4", 280 pounds, big guy. And he fell in love with the stuff. he used to think that salads were iceberg lettuce and Thousand Island dressing. And so I wasn't going to tell him what
With
to eat
bacon bits and loaded
yeah,
with
yeah.
cheese. Yeah.
And I wasn't going to tell him that he had to eat me differently, right? I just started doing things here. I made the homemade dressing, love that, still use that
Yes.
today. And he's like, what's that? What are you doing? And I said, oh, this is my sugar-free dressing, and he's like, well, can't I do that? I'm like, well, yeah, but it's not going to taste like Thousand Island. And he's like, well, let me try it. And he tried it. And he's like, well, that's great. And he
Oh,
literally went into the cabinet and got 3 bottles of Thousand Island and threw them away.
I
And so,
love it.
yeah, and so that's our thing, and opened himself up to other lettuces, opened himself to other vegetables in his salads, opened himself up to, like literally I make the tofu and brown rice
Yeah,
spinach dish.
I
That's
love
once
that
a week.
one.
That's once a week here.
Mm,
He had never eaten tofu in his life. Okay.
really?
And I didn't know how to cook it. So, I mean, that just brought a brand
It's
new,
so easy, isn't
protein
it?
source into my life, which was amazing.
Right.
One of the big things, and because I don't want to end this, I can't end a conversation with you without telling you the huge thing and telling the ladies the huge thing, the big salad.
Okay.
Okay. I can't, I mean, I can't tell you. In the modules, probably somewhere, Joyce talks about her salad, and she talks about the great big salad, I think, or something like that, or giant salad. I don't know what you call it. Anyways, and then it has like the link to a YouTube where you like prepare it.
Yes. Yes.
And I don't know why, but that video changed my life. Like sitting there and watching you prepare this salad, that number one, the fact that you use like 2 bags of lettuce for yourself for a salad for lunch, I was like, okay, that's insane. What the hell is she doing? Here's what I can tell you is that if I do that, if I make this big, beautiful, yummy salad with the vegetables I love and then toss it with this yummy dressing
Yes.
that, homemade dressing that we make, and I eat that, I am happy and satisfied and full. And I didn't think I'd ever get that from a salad. And I certainly wasn't going to eat that big of a salad. Does that make sense?
It totally makes
I
sense.
didn't realize that my body needed or wanted that
Yeah,
until I
Colleen,
gave it
I
to me.
made that video because so many women were showing me prior to that when I was like saying, we're going to have a salad challenge, to eat more greens. And they're showing me pictures in the Facebook group. This was before you of like, right, like, a little small plate, not a big plate, no bowl with, like a little iceberg lettuce and, 2 cherry tomatoes and maybe some carrot shavings and then like
Right.
a whole pound of like salad dressing and like no, 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 no. Let me show you what a salad is and why I'm telling you when I say you can get full off of a salad and how a salad is a
Right.
real meal and also like what you need for your nutrients. Because you're saying you should be having like 12 to 15 servings of vegetables a day, but people don't really know what that looks like. And so when you put it in there, plus that is a serving. Like when you look at the back of like a bag of spinach leaves, you're seeing that there's, 2.5 or 3 servings in that bag. But, if you just did, typically someone will use that whole bag for their family, a family of 5 or 6. So, right, everybody's getting just a couple little spinach leaves.
Right.
But you get the nutrients that, they're talking about, like saying like this is how, when you're reading one of those articles, like, oh, eat spinach and, you'll feel better and you'll get all your nutrients that you need. It's like, well, because you can't have that little plate. You need the full servings.
Yeah.
So put those 3 servings, those 2 servings, throw the bag in. It really isn't a lot. And that fiber is what's filling you up. And then you are satiated and you're not craving. We're right. Like back in the past, when I was in my 20s, like you, and I was on a diet and I was like, okay, I'm going to have, an iceberg lettuce. And it was just a teeny little thing. I was starving 2 minutes later, or
Right.
vegetables or a couple of carrot sticks or a slice of celery. And, that's it. Not it. Yeah.
Right.
So I'm
Right.
so
And
glad you watched that video and it had an impact on you.
I mean, it did. And it's really, so that's a huge thing. And the other thing that made all the difference is I don't like to eat in the morning, right? I don't enjoy it. I don't really want to eat. I don't have any interest in eating in the morning, and I work out. So not 2 great things to, and, but I would, I'd eat, maybe I'd start eating around 11 or something like that, but I'm up working out at 6.
Right.
So, or 6:30. So, after reading the modules and, educating myself, I finally was like, okay, well, I can't do that anymore. Right. So I was like, fine. Okay. So I started, putting together a protein shake that also had, some collagen that I need, but also some juice greens.
Good.
And so I do that after I work out, because if I don't, I will lose hunger. I will not be hungry. And then I won't have fueled my body.
Right.
And the problem is I would do that. I would starve myself till 11:30, and then I would eat bread and a bunch of crap that I didn't
The
need.
worst thing you
Right.
could be doing. Yeah.
Right. But if I keep myself satiated to a certain extent, or I also do overnight oats, you
Yes.
know, and,
Wonderful.
and I can eat that. So, if, as long as I take care of myself in the morning, by the time it's time for lunch, I'm not starving. And I wouldn't be hungry for a burger, not even really hungry for a sandwich. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just like, and so that salad is like, oh, yay. So if I do that, if I am take care of myself in the morning, and provide myself the nutrition I need,
Yeah.
however way, you don't have to do a protein shake, I mean, eggs, whatever. But, and then this big, yummy, salad, nutritious lunch, well,
Yeah.
then I don't have any room for cravings for crap. I
Correct.
honestly don't. I
Yep.
just, then I'm like, oh, but I feel like eating for dinner. Oh,
Right.
or I'm like, oh, I'm gonna make that recipe tonight, and I get really excited. Um, so for me, that's been a big deal. And I didn't mention the Fitness Pal. That was a huge thing. I
Oh,
did the
good.
fitness, and before this, I actually, when I told you about how I'd lost weight different times, 30 pounds
Yes.
here, 30 pounds there, it was always from following Lose It or Fitness Pal, right?
Mhm.
Or My Fitness, whatever it is. Because we don't realize what we're putting into our bodies. We don't realize what a serving is until we
Right.
really start looking at it, until we start focusing. So
Right.
that was huge for me too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think those two things right there, tell me if I'm mistaken, but what you learned was, since you've had experience with MyFitnessPal before, counting macros, understanding fats, carbohydrates, sugars, but what the challenge, if I'm, tell me if I'm wrong, helped open up with the real whole food is now you had to plug in your numbers with real whole food, versus some sugar-free, diet food that you
Yep.
might have grabbed, or maybe you had something, unhealthy to eat. I don't know exactly what you were eating prior, like what your days look like,
Hmm.
but I can say for other women, it's a Big Mac, or it's, a bag of Hershey Kisses and a diet soda, and they're still counting calories on that. And
Right.
and that was me too. Like, I ate unhealthy and I could lose weight if I counted calories.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
what's happening in the challenge is that you're learning actually beyond the course book, where we're teaching just about the micronutrient sugar, and you're becoming an expert on sugar, and you dived into that whole world of sugar and understanding that and what it does. Now you're understanding how those carbs fuel you, how the protein fuels you, why you need to make that shake after your workout, after you just, drained your muscles, and you need to refuel them back up with some protein to help growth, and synthesis. So all of that is what you're learning, or I think you learned in the challenge,
Yep.
was shifting that and understanding now how to make those calories into, maximize your plate to where you could
Right.
have like a big full plate full of food and feel satiated, if you pick the right foods that have the right fats, the right carbohydrates. Carbs are great. We need carbs to survive, but there's a big difference between simple carbs like the pizza and those crackers and the dough and the bread that you were talking about, versus having, a complex carb, where we're having sweet potatoes, or that brown rice with your tofu bowl. That's different in our body, and it reacts
Right.
differently. And that's what prevents us from having those cravings. And people just don't get it until they get it. Like, and I
Right.
watched your journey with the light bulb coming on, like, oh my God, I'm full, I'm satiated. This really can happen if you are stop starving our body and we
Right.
give it the
That's exactly.
nutrients that it's craving. It won't, even when we eat, 600, 1,000 calories, if it's crap food, we're still hungry because we didn't give it any
Hmm.
nutrients. It's like we just ate paper and cardboard.
Right. And there's the one thing I did learn, because that I didn't focus on in the past, that I did
Yeah.
this time, was the macros. And that's everything. I mean, you just don't, if you really focus on keeping that in balance. I
Yes.
mean, there were a lot of days where I had to work to get the calories to the high enough. Does that make
Right.
sense? Because I
Yeah.
was like,
Oh, it
okay,
totally. I
I
hear that
can't
all
be
the time, and
depriving
people
myself.
don't get it. Yeah.
Mhm. And so yeah, so that was huge. And
Yeah.
you
They're like,
know,
I'm full. I don't want to eat anymore. I have to, and
but
they
you
have no
got
junk. Yeah. And I'm satisfied. I could go just fine. But yeah, keep
you got
eating
to take care of
real
yourself.
food. Yeah. Yeah.
So this you know, this was this I want to tell you that this challenge opened up so much more than just weight loss, and
Yeah. Well, that's where I was going with this.
even the education of health and food, which obviously has made a huge difference.
Yes.
But you know, a couple months into this, it really, it's hard, Joyce. It's hard to explain that it really was a spiritual journey for me.
Yeah.
And not a religious journey, a spiritual journey, because I mean, it really felt like as I started to really care for myself and take care of myself and love myself
Mm.
and really offer that unconditional love to myself, I started being open to other things that I may want and need in my life. And so one of those things being is, I mean, I have I was introduced to breath work in March of this year, and that has become an integral part of my life
Mm.
and has changed my life, and honestly has taken the place of any therapy. And and I have, because of that, because I opened myself up to that, I have opened myself up to this tribe of women, and so I now have this big tribe of women that meet on a weekly basis
Oh,
and support each other, you know, in our goals and in our growing.
yes.
And that's that, you know, that was an inspiration from this. Is I was like, okay, I want to keep growing. I want to keep, you know, bettering myself.
Yes.
What, you know, and how do I do that? How do I find like-minded people? And this journey inspired that journey, and that continues. And because of that, now I'm like going on these retreats with these amazing women, and these health and wellness retreats, and that's been, you know, amazing and inspirational. And my
Oh,
mom, I had to take care of my mom this year, and that
yeah.
it was a you know, it was a challenge. And honestly, her health declined severely. She had a fall in May, and I had finished my journey, right, and or my
Oh,
sugar, you know, quitting journey, and I was, you
oh,
know, doing other things and taking care of myself, and still continuing on to take care of myself and fuel my body correctly, and not, you know, put sugar into my body. And honestly, I attribute the fact that I was able to be there for my mother and help her walk home
yeah.
through the summer, you know, to this, to, you know, to feeling stable, to feeling strong, to feeling capable, to feeling like I could, you know, I could face this or that,
Yes.
and feeling like I could really be the daughter she needed me to be. And that was amazing. I didn't expect that from this. I didn't expect
I know.
any of that. I didn't expect, you know, and that was amazing. And you know, and in September I went you know, she was declining. I mean, we knew that,
Oh,
right? And it was getting harder and harder, and she was miserable, and it was really hard, and it was to the point where I was praying for her relief. And
no.
you know, and I was able, you know, to spend, you know, one last phone call with her where it was a week before she passed. And I called her, and you know, and I FaceTimed her, and she was so lively and so happy and
Oh,
so full of joy, and so eh, it was crazy. And my husband, who she didn't even, you know, have that much interaction with, right? And he walked in behind me, and she was like, "Hi, John," and
oh,
so and we were like, "Okay." And so I
right.
had this conversation with her, which was just so amazing, and she was so, you know, like herself,
Yes.
that I screenshotted it, right? Because
Oh,
I screen captured it because I was like, "This is so nuts." So, anyways, that's the last time I talked to her, and
so she passed
I'm
this past September when you were away, right? On
yeah. And so
one
then
of
I
the
went,
women's
yeah,
retreats.
and so then I went to Bali, and I went on this, you know, on this health and wellness retreat, and I received word on the third day that she had passed.
Mm.
And and that was hard, but that was a blessing for me too.
Yes.
I have an amazing husband and partner who wants to fix everything for me, and he calls me his pop, because that means,
Oh,
because I'm his princess on a pedestal, and that's how he treats me every single day. And so,
as every
not
partner should.
exactly, and I know I'm worth that today, right? I know that, but he would have wanted to fix it. So the fact that I was away and able to really just focus on my feelings, on what I was going through, and take care of myself through it. By the way, Bali has like $15 massages.
Oh
Anyway,
my,
so I had like treatments every day
and
and
you were in a
baths.
group full of women that were supporting you, I'm sure. I'm sure you
Mhm,
shared and
mhm.
opened up, and it was an amazing special circle.
It
Yeah.
was, yeah.
Yeah.
So and I'm so grateful. I am so grateful. And now, I'm looking to, I'm writing my story.
Oh,
My goal is to be a motivational speaker,
you
and
will, you are.
and to be and to write my story and to share that, because I truly believe that everything that I've overcome, um, you know, I have, so that I can help others. And
Yes,
that's the beauty of this, right, Joyce? I mean,
yes,
that's why you do
that
what you
is
do,
it.
and
I
that's
mean,
that's
that's
it.
what my message is that your voice matters. It's like we just feel like we're nobody. Like, who am I to say anything, to be great and talented and wonderful? I think it was Marianne Williamson's poem, right? Who are you not
Right.
to be,
I've got
right?
it up here, right
Yes,
here.
yes.
I do.
To step into our light and our power, which, all the women who join the program, they're like, I thought I was coming to just kick sugar,
Yeah.
and
Or
instead,
lose weight.
right, or lose weight. And instead it's like, I quit my job, I divorced my husband, I started a
Right.
business, it's
Exactly.
like
And that's how I feel.
yes. Yeah. And that's how I felt when I finally gave up sugar too. And I kicked it. And like, that's when my life really started, was after that. Like, how many times I said I was going to start a business and do something, and that I wanted to be a motivational speaker and reach, women and talk. And it was just that sugar just keeps you down, and it
Yeah.
keeps that ego mind going, making you think that you're small and irrelevant,
Yep.
and nothing, and that your voice doesn't matter. And it does. And I'm going to hold you to that book. Okay. You are going to write that book. I want to see
Yes,
it,
I am.
promote it. We're going to get on a Zoom and share and talk about it. I want to touch just on your
Sure.
mother passing, and I'm so sorry for
Thank you.
that. Because as you know, I went through similar with my parents, who both passed within a 2-year time span, and my mom when she passed. And I was very fortunate. Also, like you, I take on that same mindset. It's a blessing to be able to serve someone in that way and be there to support them through their journey and their transformation and their process over. And I was able to do that in person with both my parents. As hard as it was a gift that they gave me for that. And so I get real choked up when I talk about them, and I just heard your story. I got all choked up. Because I know what it's like, to lose a parent. And so many women in the group, as you've seen too, are at our age where they're caring, right? They're being the martyr, they're caring for everybody, depleting themselves, not taking care of themselves, getting through a hard day by eating sugar, not realizing that that's just making things harder and emptying their cup where they can't fill up someone
Right.
else's that way. And
Mhm.
that, with the passing of my parents, what I'm so thankful for, just like you, because I don't know if I would have gotten through it if I was on sugar.
Right.
Like, right? Like, are you feel the same way?
Totally.
Like, I was
Totally.
able to process, like I was able to be in the pain. I was
Yeah.
able to feel
Yeah.
the sorrow and not
Be
push it
present.
off and numb it, but to experience it to its fullness. And there is something beautiful in that, right? To feel those emotions, as scary or as uncomfortable as they might be. That is the only way through, is to not numb it and to just push through that,
Right.
and to be with it. And I got to do that. And just so thankful for it, that I didn't have to turn to sugar, when I had a hard day caring for my mom or dad, physically dealing with them. And then normally I would go home and, probably stop at a convenience store and grab everything I could, find sugar, and gorge myself to feel horrible.
Hmm.
But I was able to go home, have some hot tea, make a big salad,
Right.
take care of myself. and wake up feeling refreshed and energized and be in my emotions and have that experience with them. So you and I were on the same page with that. And I'm so glad that I'm thankful for you that you got that gift with your
And
mother. You had that time.
and knowing that I can, I can get through anything, right? I can get through anything. I'm capable. I'm strong. I don't, I can never be abandoned if I don't abandon me. You
Yes.
know, um, you know, I there's no
Love
concern
that.
about unconditional love if I unconditionally love myself, because that's
Ah,
truly the only
yes.
one I need, and that's the only one that's going to stay with me forever. I will share one last thing before you go. That is that I was on vacation this last week, and I have this journal that I started at the beginning of July. As I was, going through this journey with my mom. And in that journal, I was keeping a bookmark, and the bookmark was this letter my mom had written me when I
Yeah.
was 12. And it was right before I went on this spiritual journey. She had sent me off to this camp, this spiritual camp, and it was a coming of age thing, right?
Okay.
As we all transition into young adults, and
Yes.
the parents all wrote letters to their children to read at the end of the camp, to about what they hoped for they would get it from this, and what they wanted for them, and what they thought of them, and what the kind of people they thought they were, and how much they loved you.
Yeah.
So my mom had written me this letter, and it was a bookmark in this journal. I left the journal on the plane.
Mm. Oh,
Just like it was so intense, like I lost her all over again, right?
yeah.
And it's been hard, but you know what? I get through it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I ate a
Well,
few too many keto bark pieces the other day. It's
and you move
okay.
on.
That's okay. I can pick up and be okay the next day. And now I've shared that with several women who have shared experiences with me that they needed to share with somebody else. So
Yes.
again, I'm just
I want to
blessed and
share that.
grateful, and thank you, Joyce, for
You're
everything.
so welcome. Thank you, Colleen. You see how it goes. I mean, it's happening right here, like the connection and why we both need to share stories. Because your story just triggered for me. When my mom, right when my dad had passed, and we were getting ready to move her to my sister's, we're clearing and cleaning stuff out, and my mom, who had Parkinson's and Lewy body's dementia, who really lost, her mind at the
Hmm.
end there. My dad, from our childhood, before we had iPhones and everything, he had his fancy, Nikon Canon camera, and took like so many pictures of our family. Like, it was always so annoying. Dad, like of everything that happened, just mundane days. And he made all these shoe boxes, how he categorized them and put them in little envelopes that he like cut down and taped with masking tape to make them the right size, and put the date and who was in each envelope, Aunt Carol, Steve, I mean, you name it, like, Tracy, Joyce, everybody in there, what the event was, and categorized these. And we had like maybe like 20 shoe boxes like this with thousands of photos. And my mom threw them out, and we didn't know it. And they're all gone, and but like you, what I have to say, my advice to you when you told me, take your own advice, Joyce, is right. Yeah, and this is what we need to do, right? It's so easy to tell someone else. And that's why we tell someone else, to really tell ourselves, right? That's why we become teachers, and want to be
Right.
teachers, right? To learn the lessons ourselves. Is that no, it's like those memories are not in a picture, they're not in that shoebox.
Not box,
You're
right?
right. The letter that your mom wrote you, that you had in the journal, is not there. It's in you. It is a part
Yeah.
of you now, and that can never be taken away. And to remember that. So, oh, Colleen, I have enjoyed our time
Me
together
too.
so much. Thank you so much for sharing your
Thank
IKS
you.
journey before, during, and after. And we love seeing your updates in the group. That beautiful picture of you on the red dress in the swing. If you ladies haven't seen it, go to the group. Oh, it's just magical. I love it. Soaring over the treetops in Bali.
Hmm.
I'll show it at the end probably of this video to show ladies, but just you're a joy and you're a
Thank
blessing to
you.
all of us. And you are IKS and you are the voice for all of us. So keep shining, keep spreading those wings and flying. I just adore and love you so much. And I'm so thankful and grateful for you. So thank you. Yeah. Well, love you,
Thank
sweetheart.
you.
All
Mwah,
right.
mwah, mwah.
Take
I'll talk to you
care.
soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.